All right, so I want to welcome everybody to today's final session of our second Copilot for Microsoft 365 Starter Series. My name is Michael Gannotti, and I'm your host today. I'm joined by Helen, Guan, and Helen, do you want to quick introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Helen Guan, a peer of Mike's, also on the same team, and hopefully will present some useful use cases for you all today.
Yeah, I'm very excited about today's. Helen has some great demos she's going to be showing. Pretty excited about that. And just for your knowledge, edification, whatever, I always get asked this. A couple of things. Number one, for housekeeping, on Q&A or questions, feel free access the Q&A panel. The chat is disabled, but the QA panel is active. So if you have questions, comments, let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to hear that. Go ahead and do that on there. Also, afterwards, this is being recorded. So afterwards, I'll be taking the recording. I'll take the slide deck as well, and then I'll have the links to the resources we'll cite at the end, and I'll be posting those out in, you can see it says aka.ms/HLS blog. That is the blog site. We'll be going ahead and posting everything out to there. And that should be up today, tomorrow at the very latest. But with that, you want to go ahead and move it forward, Helen?
Sounds good, Mike.
So the agenda. So we have a couple of things that we're going to look at today. Number one, when we talk about Copilot for Microsoft 365 in the whole pharmaceutical space, especially with the areas that we're looking at today, what it is and then what it isn't. We'll be talking through that. There's going to be a discussion and demo around use cases. Helen has two distinct sets of use cases with demos throughout those that are just phenomenal, and I'm really excited about those. After that, we're going to have wide open QA, but as I mentioned, feel free to post your questions, comments, where you're joining from. We love to hear that in the QA panel. You can go ahead and put that there. And then, finally, next steps and resources. And I have one slide left I'll be talking to. You can go ahead and advance that. And I think click, yeah, the age of co-pilots. The age of co-pilots has arrived. So unless you've had your head under a rock, you know that we are in a AI, everything AI world. I was actually just getting my physical this morning, my annual with my doctor, and he started talking about AI. And so AI is everywhere. And for Microsoft, this is one of, if not the key focus for us as we're moving forward, is enabling everything with AI. And a couple of things to remember when we talk about AI, we are enabling all of our Microsoft 365 services with AI. In fact, we've announced it for Notepad. We even have it in Paint. And you continue, though, to see it show up in additional services as time goes on. And those services, every couple of weeks, are getting updates with new capabilities. So it is a very fast moving space. I'll leave you with my one axiom. And this is why we always tell our customers you should be working on developing your AI muscle now. Waiting down the road, it's going to be it's going to make your jobs a lot harder for you because people are getting on board right now. I was just on an internal dialogue this morning, not internal to me, but internal at Microsoft, where we were talking with some of the pharma and talking about all these very large multinational orgs that are adopting it to the tunes of tens of thousands and now even hundreds of thousands enterprise wide. You're as you look at this whole space, it is evolving rapidly, and the axiom is really that the more AI advances, the faster it advances. So think of those Saturday morning cartoons, right, with that little snowball that starts at the top, and the more it goes down the hill, the faster it goes, the bigger it gets. You don't want to be down the hill waiting and looking because This is not, I've had some colleagues talk about it as analogous to the internet. For big sea changes, it's much more. AI is the industrial revolution compressed into years as opposed to decades. So this is not something that is slowing down, not something that you want to sit on. You want to start developing AI muscle now because it is going to fundamentally change how we work. And those organizations that embrace and begin to discover those new modes of work and how it adjusts are going to be much better served. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Helen, who's going to start taking us through. I'm going to go off video. She's going to take us through what it is, what it isn't, and then get into some demos. And again, QA panel, feel free, post your questions, share where you're joining from. We love to hear from you, and I'll be answering and monitoring that in the background. All right, Helen, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so today we're really going to talk about how we can improve efficiency and improve your workflows as a medical affairs directors and medical science liaison. What Copilot is your digital assistant. You can now everyone can now have a digital assistant with them along their way through their day-to-day activities. Copilot for M365 can help streamline your presentations, help better prepare for any meetings you have with key opinion leaders. As you're going to hospitals, you can have Copilot create a presentation for you so that way you are well prepared. And I'll show that in a little bit as well too. You can easily stay current with the latest publications and clinical trials data. I know that you all have tons and tons of documentation that you are reading and reviewing, analyzing, comparing. Well, what if you had a digital assistant to help you efficiently streamline that process? Because instead of reading through line by line, now you have something that can really accelerate your entire process of reading documentation and pulling out key highlights instead of all of the white noise that is around it. Staying on top of your Teams meetings, any team meetings that you have, Copilot and Teams will be there to help you capture all of your notes, capture all of your key items, action items, so that you can focus on your presentation and you can focus on making decisions and discussing in your meetings. Any ISS assessments, what I was saying earlier is you can use Copilot to review and evaluate any proposals that you may have from investigators. You can use Copilot to provide any feedback and recommendations that based off of the data of the ISS proposals. Really, Copilot can help identify any strengths and weaknesses of each proposal, so that it really helps you accelerate and be more efficient. And lastly, clinical trial calls. Probably at the end of your clinical trials, you'll want to have a call with all of your participants, or maybe just with investigators and site staff. Copilot can help you access and summarize any of the latest information or any key points that was discussed during those calls. So that way you can focus on what you need to do so that you have actionable outcomes. What Copilot is not. Copilot is not here to make decisions on your behalf. You still ultimately have to review the data and make sure that what Copilot generated is indeed accurate. It is pulling from the data that you are being provided, but you have the human expertise. So it doesn't have any emotions, so it's not here to kind of read your mind or guess what you were thinking about. Copilot responds based on inputs and context. It doesn't have any psychic abilities. It doesn't access any personal information. So you still have to have the human interaction and use your human expertise and judgment. Copilot helps with daily repetitive tasks. Anything that's mundane, you can have Copilot do it for you. So that way it frees up a lot of your admin time on focusing on your job, building that rapport with KOLs, and really having that engagement with your patients. All right, so I'm going to show you some use cases on how Copilot for M365 can benefit your day-to-day. One example I have here is really accelerating documentation for any clinical trials. I can imagine the amount of documentation that you have to do for one clinical trial. So I'll go through on how you can summarize clinical trials, creating a new document, never starting on a blank slate. And then you can analyze the trends. So you may have a lot of documentation on your clinical trials, but analyzing the trends is probably something that you'll have to do manually. So now with Copilot for M365, it can automatically analyze that data for you and kind of provide a trend line or provide any trends and similarities out of those results. You're probably creating surveys right now for your participants in these trials. Well, what if Copilot can customize that for you and create that for you so that way you don't have to do it manually anymore? So I'll show you how you can easily do that. Drafting emails, writing up a whole email of thanking your participants. A Copilot for M365 is here to help you with that now, so you don't have to manually create one every time. You're probably creating leadership presentations on how the trial went. Well, Copilot for M365 can help accelerate that process for you by helping you create initial drafts so that you can customize it from the data that you provide Copilot. And lastly, as you're presenting to leadership, Copilot in Teams can help you capture all of the key points that was discussed, and then also help you focus on your presentation, because anybody that's providing you feedback or asking you questions, Copilot can capture that for you. And then moving on to the second use case, which I'll be demoing as well too, is a day-to-day, a day in the life of a medical science liaison. Helping Copilot can help you prepare for your day, any upcoming meetings you have with KOLs at their hospital. You may be presenting to a KOL, and Copilot for M365 can help you create your presentation based off of the data that you provide and feed it, so that way it's relevant for your meeting. You may come back and debrief with your team and strategize and share insights from the meeting you had at the hospital with the KOL, and Copilot can help you capture all of the information you need, maybe generate a list of any key points that were made by each speaker, so that way you can focus on the discussions versus scribing. After your meeting, you may have a bunch of data you want to analyze, maybe go through what some of the mortality rates are. I'll show you how you can compare multiple documents, so that way it's really summarizing the key points, any differences between the two documents, so that you don't have to read both documents and then do a comparison. We'll do some summarization, highlighting some key points, and then lastly, I'll show you how Copilot can help you end your day and what you need to catch up on. All right, are we ready for some fun? I'm going to share my screen really quick so that we can start on the demos. Mike, you can see my screen, correct?
Yes, I can. Looks great.
Awesome, awesome. So my use case today is really helping you accelerate documentation of your clinical trials. I'm going to use an example for, as we all know, very common now, eczema, atopic dermatitis, and how in particular abrocitinibs can help. So if there is a trial that you are conducting already and you have all of the results, I'm going to ask Copilot to summarize and all the results from a recent clinical trial of the drug and how it treats the atopic dermatitis. A lot of times you may be spending your time on formatting a document. You may be spending your time on writing the introduction and the conclusion. Well, what if Copilot can do all of that for you? So I have an example here. I've added some data already, just in the purpose of our demo. And you can see that it is writing all of the results for me in the 12-week period of our trial, the different phases that we had. So everything all about it. And then lastly, it's going to write me a conclusion as well too. I don't know about you, but for me and the amount of time Copilot can do it, it will probably take me weeks. So looking through it, I'll read through it and see how everything went, if I thought it was accurate or if it needs more information. For me, I feel this is sufficient, so I'm going to keep it. But if you feel this is not sufficient and you want Copilot to add in more details and information, you can easily ask Copilot to do that as well too. I feel that this information is kind of difficult to read. So I want to have Copilot actually put this in a visual for me. So that way it's easier to digest and for me to be able to kind of compare and analyze the data trends in this document. So Copilot's going to work on that for me and put this into a more readable and digestible format. So that way I can easily understand the data and compare the trial as well too. Some of the patients that were enrolled, just overall much easier to analyze. So I'm adding this into my document. And how do we transform this data? So I'll show you how we can transform this data as well too. So everything looks good to me here. I'm going to keep it. And then now you can see my document is a little bit more clear and concise. So this is one way to do it. Alternatively, if you have clinical trials, documentation's all written up already, but instead of reading through everything, you can have Copilot summarize the key points and highlights for you. So that way you can easily read through docs much quicker and read more docs in this case. So I'm going to have Copilot summarize a document for me so that way you can kind of see what it pulls out and how accurate it is. So here's a summary of the main idea, the key points, and some of the similarities it's going to show me. And then if you feel that you're not getting enough context, you can easily just go back with these numbers on what it's talking about. So number 2 is going to take you directly to where the entire paragraph is so that you can read before and after and get more context out of it if you feel that the summary was not concise enough or it wasn't detailed enough. All right, I'm moving on. So for example, let's say that your trial has ended and you want to create a survey thanking your participants in the clinical trial. You want to ask them for their feedback, right? So you want to know how you can better improve your trial for the next time around. So I'm going to easily ask Copilot. This is saving me at least 20 minutes of time of just drafting questions and the formatting of it. So I'm going to ask Copilot to create the survey for me, thanking the participants and in the clinical trial, and then I'm going to ask for feedback. So you can see here from a header, it's going to, in the form, it's already created for me, thanking all the participants, and their feedback is very valuable. And then these are questions that generated, and it's not necessarily open source questions, right? Where open answers, there's actually one rating from 1 to 5, yes, no questions. So there's a mix of variety. So it engages your participants to provide their feedback. So I really like this. I'm going to keep it. And then in a matter of seconds, my entire survey has been created for me. And you can edit this however you like as well too. If you feel that you want to add new questions, you can add it with Copilot, you can add it manually, but from the very least, you're not starting from a blank slate anymore. All right, so I've captured all of the feedback. I've sent this out. I'm captured the feedback. Now what I want to do is send an email to my participants to include this form to provide feedback as well too. So I'm going to open up my Outlook and Copilot in Outlook, and I'll draft it with Copilot. So write an email to survey participants and thank them for participating in the trial. So I'll have Copilot generate it for me. And then there I have an email that is heartfelt thank you to the participants of the trial, and then I can just easily link in the survey that was just created. So let's say I sent this out already and I've already gotten the feedback from our participants. now I want to share this out with our leadership. I'll share out what the trial, the summary of the trial, and some of the data and results of the clinical trial, along with some feedback from the participants. So I can easily create a presentation from the summary I just created earlier. Obviously, leadership's not going to be interested in reading the entire clinical trial of summary and the results of it. So we want to be more concise, and we want to be able to create a presentation so that is direct. So I'm creating a presentation for our leadership right now on the trial that we did for atopic dermatitis and on the particular drug of abrocitinib. So you can see Copilot is drafting the presentation right now. And you can kind of see the status of it, right? It's generating the outline. And you can see it's about 33% done of the way. So that way you're not just waiting and waiting, you actually know what the progress is. So in preparation for my Teams meeting where I'll be presenting this, my presentation will be all drafted for me. And then lastly, as you're presenting this presentation in your Teams meeting, you yourself can focus on presenting. And as people are providing you feedback or the discussions during the meeting, Copilot will capture that for you. So that way you don't have to worry about capturing notes along with presenting as well too. So you can see here, everything's all formatted for me, the agenda, the introduction, even has images along the way. So being very concise on the trial data as well too. All the tables are already formatted, included in here. And then lastly, it has a conclusion. So I do really like this, and I love how Copilot can kind of sense that there is some sensitivity to this. So that way I do want to apply a sensitivity label so to protect any data. If you don't particularly love the design, you can always go to designer and change out the design a little bit, add more images, so that way it fits your style and your presentation as well too. So you can see here, you can change out the tables a little bit, make it more creative, however you like to change out the formatting if you don't like what it's presented to you already. All right, so this is one use case. This is one way you can accelerate all your documentation of clinical trials. If you have any questions, feel free to pop it into the Q&A, and Mike will help me facilitate that part. The next scenario or use case that I'll be showing is the day in the life. And Copilot has many use cases. So this particular is Copilot chat for M365, and you can ask Copilot, help me prepare for your day. So you want Copilot to help you prepare for today's meeting, any hospital visits you may have, and how you can prepare. I'm just going to ask Copilot, help me prepare for today's meetings, and then it'll show up all the meetings that I have today. You can put it in a grid format if you feel that that's easier for you to read. Or you can just see that I have some meetings that are upcoming today and what I want to do. I don't necessarily even have to search for it. I can easily just click into the ones or the twos that are listed here. It'll take me directly to that meeting invite. So let's say I do have a meeting with a KOL at a hospital today, and I want to be able to present any recent advancements in therapeutic areas that are relevant to our products, right? But I am a crunch on time. I don't have enough time to start fresh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my digital assistant to help me create a presentation of recent advancements in therapeutic areas that's relevant to our products. So I can easily do that, or you can just use some of the native buttons that are already on here as well too, such as create a presentation about, or create a presentation from file like I did earlier about our atopic dermatitis. And if you feel like you want to add a slide, you can easily ask Copilot to add a slide as well too. Well, right now I'm going to visit a KOL at a hospital, and I'm about to create a presentation for my visit. So you can see here recent advancements in therapeutic areas. I love the images that it's providing. It's absolutely on point to what I want to present. And then all of the slides that it came out with. So, like I said, it does not replace human judgment and humans' expertise. So you do have to read through and make sure the data is accurate and based off of what you are feeding it. What I love about the presentations, it has presenter notes as well too. I can easily edit this to fit what I want to present versus having to start fresh with a blank slate. All right, now I'm prepared. I'm going to go to hospital. I'm going to review this with the KOL and kind of show him or her what some of the advancements are. Let's say I come back, I'm going to go into a meeting and debrief with my teams. Again, teams will capture those notes for you and any points that the speakers have within your team's meeting. So that way you don't have to do so. So I'm done with that. I'm having some lunch. Next, I'm going to prepare an annual conference of the American Society of Clinical Oncology, and I need to prepare a documentation for that. But again, I'm crunched on time. I'm going to have Copilot help start that for me. So I'm going to have Copilot prepare an annual conference of the American Society for me. So that way I don't have to start from a blank slate. And again, you can transform all of your documentation from one application to another, from Word to Excel to presentation, depending on what type of data you have. So Copilot is drafting this for me. And I can have it analyze any new data from like ongoing clinical trials for ovarian cancer. And then that way it can prepare a summary for me and then I can transform it into a presentation. So you can see that it is documenting some of the current challenges. Ultimately, this is going to help me prepare for my conference. And if I want to transform this into a presentation, I can easily do that like I did earlier as well too. All right, I love what it is has generated, and I'm going to keep this. But let's say you have a lot of documents that you have to compare and you have to read, and instead of having to read through every document that you have, you can have Copilot actually compared and highlight some of the documentation for you. So for example, if I have multiple documentations such as the mortality rates and I want to compare from one year to another, I can have Copilot analyze that data for me and highlight some of the key differences. So I'm going to grab this documentation that is from my drive. And I'm going to do health statistics from 2023, and then also the mortality rate from 2022 as well too. So maybe it can help me analyze the data from both of the documents and highlight the key differences and similarities. And you could do this for any type of documentation that you have. I'm just using PDF, for example, but like I said, you can do that for any documents. All right, it's going to read through each of the documents for me and then kind of do some analysis on the mortality rates from one year to another. Again, the matter of time is time efficiency is what Copilot is here for you. So you can see some of the similarity between the two sources and then the differences as well too. And I'll show you something really cool again. Like the trends and patterns is really difficult for me to read through everything. I'm going to have it put it into a table for me so it's easier to digest. All right, I love everything that it's produced, and then I'm going to have it put it into a table for me so it's much more visual and easier for me to kind of analyze the data. Give it a few seconds. Type in some questions that you may have while we're waiting for Copilot. All right. I love this. I love how it's giving me the statistic, the value in years, and then any changes from 2020. So you can see here that everything's put in a table for me in the interest of time. I think this is enough data to share out. But the larger data set that you have, it does take a little bit longer. All right, everything looks good here and looks like it's the end of my day. So I'm gonna have Copilot kind of help me prepare for the end of day and what I need to catch up on. So that way I know if I've missed any emails that I've been out, missed any chats that I've been out, and really be here to help make sure that I respond to everybody that I need to. All right, let's see if there's any missed calls that I have for today. And it looks like there are a few things that I should catch up on and follow up on, so that way I don't miss anything. So that's the end of my demos, Mike. I'm gonna hand it over back to you. And hopefully those were useful for your upcoming Copilot activities.
Oh, I thought that was great. So let me go ahead. I guess I'll share my screen this time for the Q&A. I'll open up that PowerPoint and let's go ahead and share. So it is QA time. So if you have questions, feel free to post those. You can post those up in the QA panel. I haven't really seen. I saw we had Tom, joining from Minneapolis, and earlier we had. What do we have? Where is he at there? Man, my eyesight's so bad. Here's my glasses.
Yeah, I have Tom from Minneapolis and
And
then
Savijay from Chicago. So Minneapolis, we're having all kinds of representation up in the northern U.S. So welcome. But if you have questions, feel free to post those. We'll keep that open. In the meantime, I am going to click on over here. And by the way, Helen, great job. I loved it. That was all, that was great stuff.
Thanks.
So let's go ahead, move on. Resources. So just to let you know, folks, there are a ton of resources out there to help you with Copilot. This is just a listing of a few of those. I will tell you, I don't think I even have it down here. I don't. So this is just some of them. We have some other HLS, healthcare and life science specific ones that are out there. So right here, you can see these are a whole bunch of adoption ones. I will tell you that adoption kit and some of the things around that, great resources. I had a couple of organizations just get all excited the other day about that because there's stuff around how to, craft your prompt. And a lot of folks are learning it's all about the prompt and how you say it and what you include in that and phrase it. But we've got all kinds of ones out here along with some additional training. There's a Copilot prompts toolkit. If you have questions around Copilot data and privacy, link to that. Suffice it to say that Copilot for Microsoft 365 adheres to all the security you've been doing in Microsoft 365, including privacy, and it already is covered under your existing organizational BAA. So that was a big thing coming out. I wasn't going to show this, but maybe I will anyways. Let's see. If I click over here, I'm going to go to our blog. Again, if you go to aka.ms/HLS blog, that is the HLS blog where we've got all kinds of stuff that's out there around Copilot. And you can see some of that here, including this series on what we're calling Copilot snacks, or snackables, you can come in here. This one is showing integration with ServiceNow, and then there's a subsequent one talking about how we did that. And we have, if you go to any one of those snacks, you can then click to see all the snacks that we continue to add to. So, take a look at that. I know on the Wednesday before I go out on my sabbatical, that's this Wednesday. It's my last day for 10 weeks. I'm going to be posting up and staging a whole bunch of additional snacks, little point ones, how to do things, and those will go live once a week while I'm out. So, take a look there. We are here to help you. We want to help you at Microsoft. Copilot is huge. AI is huge. And, whatever your industry, start building that AI muscle now. So with that, I believe, whoops, come on back here. And there we go. I think that's it. So again, go ahead, grab the link or, write it down, aka.ms/HLS blog. That's the place for all things Microsoft, healthcare, and life sciences. Of course, it covers a lot more than just that, but that is our blog for our group. And any last words, Helen, about today's
No,
webinar?
happy sabbatical. Congratulations. And thank you all for attending today.
Yes.
Hope you learned something new.
Yeah. And again, thanks for the great demos today, Helen. That was a great job. Share this. Be sure to share all this with your colleagues. And again, I will have at that address this recording, the deck, and all the resources will be up there probably later today. So with that, bidding you all have a great day. Thanks for joining. Take care. And as always, from us to you, ciao and have a great week.
Thank you all.
And stop recording. And there we go.